Hey y'all. Hi everyone. Hi. Let me know if it's working. First of all, I know there are a number of you in the chat already, which is great. Love to see it. And we're a little worried that the sound is low. So if it's not sounding strong enough, let me know and I'll be intermittently checking the chat just to make sure. But I think that everything should be working. Here's what's happening. I've been gone for a week, pretty much over a week. And I didn't talk about my trip in advance. I didn't vlog or anything while I was gone. But this is the first time that I'm like back to filming with the lights and everything since I've gotten back. And I have before me all of the makeup that I took with me on my trip. It was just a trip back home to see my family. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. It's the first time I've seen my family since before the pandemic. And I decided to just use the exact makeup that I took with me on the trip. Instead of trying to like put together a look, I just had a little collection because, my family lives in a rural area. It's not all about like getting glammed up or getting dressed up or anything. So I took just like this little collection. I actually just packed all of my makeup into one of these little Glossier bags, and it was a very spare like makeup collection for me on this trip. So I'm going to be basically showing you exactly what I was doing when I just quickly got ready every morning on the trip and using the makeup that I've been using and talking about the trip and kikiing with y'all. And I'm just checking the comments to make sure that it sounds like you can hear me, you can see me, everything's good. Let's get it. Okay, so this is what I took with me as a primer, the Le Beige by Chanel. I just took this. It's funny, I haven't traveled obviously in a really long time. And I found that when I was traveling, I liked the idea of taking with me like luxurious things, just like little luxurious things. Maybe this is the only way that it manifested. No, one of like the two lip products that I bought were kind of luxurious. But I took this Chanel Le Beige and I wore it pretty much every day on top of sunscreen. So sunscreen is all I have on right now. And I'm putting the Chanel on top. Where am I going? Creamy Goodness is asking where am I going? I went to visit my family. Someone's asking why can't I super chat? I've never enabled super chat. For some reason, I feel self-conscious about doing it. But maybe I should. If there's someone who's looking for it, I'm not going to stop and do it right now because knowing me, it'll like take me 15 minutes to figure it out. But thanks for the reminder. Sometimes YouTube emails me and they're like, you're eligible for super chat. And then I'm always like, I don't know. But yeah, I went to visit my family. So I'll tell you what the trip was. The reason for the trip, the kind of, core reason for the trip was that my beautiful grandmother turned 100 years old at the beginning of May. She had her 100th birthday, my father's mother. And of course, the plan all this time has been to have a big, wonderful party for her. But we couldn't because of the pandemic. So as soon as the last member of my immediate family got her first vaccine shot, it was my sister. As soon as we all were on a timeline to all be vaccinated, we started planning a get together for Mama. And so by the time I got over there, my sister had had her second shot and we were all able to get together and celebrate Mama. And we weren't able to have the big party that we would have had if it hadn't been for the pandemic, but we were all able to celebrate and have lunch together, and it was glorious. So that was the event around which this trip was planned. But of course, I haven't seen my family in over a year and they all live out on the East Coast. And so I was essentially already planning to take the first possible chance once I was fully inoculated to go out there and once they all were to go out there and see them. So that's what I was doing. Yes, happy birthday, Grandma Poston, says Shannon. I mean, it was spectacular. I'll be posting a picture or maybe even some pictures of her soon on Instagram. She's just the best, my mama. She's so bright. She's so beautiful inside and out and just glowing with love. And I don't know, I couldn't love her more. And I'm so happy that I got to give her a squeeze. So that was good. All right. So this is what I've been doing. For those of you who weren't here right at the beginning, I'm using only makeup that I took with me on this week-long trip. And so essentially showing you what my, edited, quick, unglamorous makeup routine was like. So sunscreen, then this Chanel, which you can see, I mean, it's not a primer, it's supposed to be an illuminator, but I feel like it does do some evening of the skin in the way that it reflects light. So then the big guns, I've been using green color corrector, which I obviously need, although my skin has been, I feel like I've been on Curology long enough that I'm really starting to see the benefits. My skin has really calmed down in that sometimes I go through periods during which I don't have any like active painful blemishes. And right now I don't really. I mean, these are all, doesn't look great, but these are all like healing. None of them is like alive and and evil. So that's really great. One is sort of alive and evil on my forehead, but that's it. So that's been nice. So I've been green color corrector, my Makeup Forever concealer, which is thin, watery, skin-like, and a little bit light for me. And then the Aaron's Faces concealer, which is thick, very pigmented, super creamy and nourishing, and a little bit dark for me. And I've been mixing the three of these together and using it essentially kind of as like a CC cream, because the green color corrector is so pigmented that you can see how green it still looks when it's mixed together. So it's really like some sort of CC cream rather than being a foundation. Yes. Hi from Rotterdam. I'm seeing my 94-year-old grandma next week. So you know how I've been feeling. It was just glorious. And, through all of this pandemic, it's like, I just couldn't wait to like hug my sister again, hug my mom, hug my dad, hug my grandma. Like it's sort of been like on the darkest nights of the soul, you imagine that, what I mean? You like think that about that as it's the thing you hold on to, at least has been for me. And so it was cathartic, I think, in a way to do that. So my sister lives in Washington, D.C. That was a good iambic pentameter sentence, by the way. I always hear them when they pop out, but I don't usually mention it. My sister lives in Washington, D.C., and so I flew to her, actually, and I stayed with her and her long-term partner, her boyfriend, Eric. I stayed with them in their house for a night, and that was awesome. And then we all drove down together. So rather than flying to North Carolina to meet them, I flew to them, and that was awesome because it's a better flight. It's easier to get a direct flight from LA to DC because it's a hub. And so it was, it was a shorter flight, easier flight, less expensive flight than it would have been to fly to North Carolina. And then it was just awesome because I got more time with Ellie and Eric and, more sort of like different kinds of time with different combinations of people. And I really love that. Sorry about this lawn noise. I hope it's not destroying your experience, but hopefully you can see how much just this combination, and I'm rubbing it in, I'm applying it really thinly, almost like a lotion. And hopefully you can see from there how much it's changing the base of, I know I've been doing a lot of Get Ready With Me's lately where I talk about this, but I feel like it's worth reiterating every time. So little makeup, so skin-like, and such a dramatic difference. I love it. Sorry, I not only have I not filmed in a long time, but I also haven't done a live in a long time, and my nose is really itchy. This is the kind of thing that I would usually cut out of a video, and I feel like I'm not fully comprehending right now that I'm live on the internet and that this video is going to stay up on my channel because I took a vacation kind of. Like I continued to post the videos that we had pre-filmed and edited, but my head space has been out. My head has been out of the game of YouTube. It's a kind of break that I really do need from time to time, and I'm really glad that I got it. But now I'm like putting my head back in the game all at once with y'all live. And it's, it's a lot. Hi, Artie the Android, my beloved. I'm so happy that you're here. Yeah, stop playing around and grow your hair out into a shag. Oh my gosh, that's going to be radical. I can't wait. Kay says, where in North Carolina did you go? My family lives in the mountains. And that's another thing that just side note, I kind of let what was on my skin set, and now I'm going back in with more of the same mixture, and it's giving me a little more coverage on these troubled areas. My family lives in the mountains, and I love those mountains. And that's another thing that I just couldn't wait. Like in the darkest nights of the soul, I was just like dreaming of seeing those mountains. So it was amazing to be back there in the mountains with my family. I went on a long walk with some very old friends too, who just happened to be back home at the same time. And it was glorious. It was good. Some people are talking about my hair, and actually, this is so bananas for me. It's maybe not going to sound bananas to other people, but wait, let me move on to the next step. Let's do eyebrows. So here's what I took with me for eyebrows. I took my the dregs of the Nyx Brow Glue. I always find that when I go home, and it's partly because my family is just not into cosmetics, I mean, and don't care and don't even see or notice. I find over the course of the week that I spend with them, I become less and less fussy about maintaining even the baseline of what I usually do to my face. So my eyebrows, I was going to take like my soap and all of that stuff. And then at the last minute, I was like, ugh, I'm just going to take this little thing of Nyx Brow Glue and use it up, even though I don't get the same structure and hold. And so I've just been brushing a tiny bit in to my brows. But what I found was that by the end of my trip, I was like skipping it on some days and just leaving my eyebrows looking like they look. And, I've got bangs half covering them and nobody notices and nobody cared. And I found by the end of it that I didn't care either. But it's nice, I like my usual state of affairs. I like that I spend some time every morning tinkering with aspects of my appearance. It's meditative and it's self-care. And I'm not saying that it's like a better state of affairs to have sort of stopped caring by the end of my vacation. I feel like it's appropriate to the time and the place. So I only used this brow stuff half the time, and that was fine. But I'm very excited to be reunited with my soap, actually. I almost brought it over to use it here, but I decided to stick to the brief and just use what I used on vacation. So this is it. This is what I used on vacation. And what I was doing was brushing it through and then like using the little edge of the bottom of the tube to kind of like slightly paste my brows down just a little bit. And that's what I've been doing. I just saw a comment saying, have you heard of Proven Skincare? I think I got an email from them. I think that they emailed me at some point in the past 2 weeks to like want to send me PR or something. And I haven't gone back and looked at the email and I haven't responded yet. I'm just doing everything's so simple right now for me. I'm just using my Curology cream, a thick night cream, and then I've been using this little watery serum in the mornings, and that's kind of it. I've really, really, really scaled back and simplified to let my skin really adjust to the Curology formula. So a lot of skincare PR emails that I get lately are kind of just like going unanswered and barely read because of that. It's just not good timing for me to try new stuff. But I'm now that you've said, have you heard of Proven Skincare? I'm like, maybe I should go back and read the email. Oh, Mio says I miss the ocean from where I grew up as well. It's just that those landscapes that are deep in your heart, I think it can be so healing to visit them again, even if you'll never move back there or something. You know what I mean? It's not like you have to return to that landscape that's buried the deepest in your heart forever. But I think that it's really, really healing to physically visit them. So I'm glad that I got to do that. So I was going to tell you about my hair, right? So we did the brows. I'm going to do a little spot concealing because that is what I have been doing. I usually do it next, but I suddenly got it in my head that I needed to do my brows and it couldn't wait. Oh no. What are you doing here? And I'll tell you about my hair while I spot conceal. So Jude, my beloved new hairdresser, she encouraged me to stop washing my hair. And I'm going to do a whole video about this. Upcoming, I think I'm going to do a video called like my amazingly successful, radically different new hair care routine. Like I'm gonna update you because I've been doing a lot of things differently at her suggestion, and it's been going really well. But this is one of them. She encouraged me to stop. What I'd been doing is washing my hair last thing at night once a week and then just sleeping on it and letting it dry while I was sleeping. And I always felt like it got pretty dry and it got pretty textured like while I was sleeping because I was like rolling around on it. But she was saying that actually, especially with thick hair, it can kind of cause like your hair to sort of compact in the back of your head and on the sides of your head. You're like pressing down wet layers of hair onto your scalp when you're sleeping, and it can get kind of yucky in there. And my scalp hasn't really been in the best shape, especially during the pandemic. A little bit dry, just not healthy feeling, you know? And I hadn't really been doing any, I hadn't been doing anything about it. And I barely brushed my hair either. So there's just a lot of like yucky stuff in there, I think. So Jude made what is to me the radical suggestion that I switch to washing my hair at least a couple of hours before sleeping, if not during the day. And that I then let it air dry upright so some air can get in there to my scalp. So I'm like, okay, I'll try it because I don't use heat tools. I don't even own a blow dryer. And then she also suggested that because it's so thick in the back that I put half of it up and let the underneath part dry and then let the other part down. And the thing that's wild about it to me is that like right now, I washed it maybe 2 hours ago and I towel dried it, put half of it up, and this underneath part isn't even dry yet. It isn't even dry yet. And this stuff isn't dry yet because it's up here, but back here, it's like, it's still damp. And I just think how long it would be taking to dry if it was all down. Because this is down here is only about a third of my hair. More than half of it is up. And just this little bit, just this third of my hair back here, it isn't even dry yet. And it's been like exposed to the elements, such a thin layer. I think when you have thick hair, a lot of times it's not just an abundance of hair. It's like the threads themselves are thicker and they take longer to dry. So I just can't believe I haven't been doing this the whole time because I've just been spending more time exfoliating my scalp. I've been letting my hair dry in layer. Like I put most of it up and just let a little down, let it dry. And then another like sheath of it comes down and then another and then another. I've been doing it in like stages using this clip. And I don't know. I wish I had been doing it this whole time. It's really changing things for me. I'm going to hold my tongue now about the rest of my, you like me talking while I'm spot concealing? I'm like, I'm going to save the rest of my hair drama for that video. But if you're interested in my hair, not my hair, but if what I do with my hair has any bearing on what you do with your hair for any reason, keep an eye out for that video because I do feel like I've been to like the school of hair just by getting my hair cut one time by Jude. And I've really learned my lesson and it's paying off. I have a lot to share. So here's this is interesting. I spot concealed a tiny bit, but I didn't try too hard. I feel like my face now looks a little bit like there's more redness under the eye than there is on the sides because that kind of greenish mixture really whitened the sides of my face where I needed the most coverage. And I barely put anything under the eyes because I don't need coverage there. But now I want to put just a tiny bit of this Makeup for Everyone, which is the lighter in color, just a tiny bit to help even it out. Although I've got to say I wasn't doing this every day when I was home. I was a lot of times just kind of leaving it and leaving my under eye area to look more red than the rest of my face. I feel like it's a more natural look. It looks less like you're wearing makeup. But here on camera, I'm compelled to do a little bit more. And then this little spot on my forehead, I've been spot concealing some with the NARS, which is what I was just using, NARS Soft Matte Complete. But I've also noticed there were some days when I was too lazy to pull out the NARS spot concealer, so I was only using my other two concealers. And I feel like I learned about them by intermittently using one or the other to try to cover this quite active spot on my forehead. The Makeup Forever concealer is one, the Ultra HD, that I value quite a lot for its skin-like quality. It's so watery and skin-like, and it just looks beautiful. But The Erin's Faces one is way more pigmented. Trying to spot conceal with this makeup forever is a fool's errand. It's just not a spot concealer. It's like a perfect under eye concealer. And so there were some days when I went in with it and I would put a dot on this spot on my forehead and pat it in, and it would just disappear into the blemish and the blemish would rise again. Then I would go in with the Erin's Faces and put a dot and pat it in and it would disappear. The blemish would disappear. Like the pigment is so there and it's so creamy. So that was just interesting. I wanted to report back about that. Let's see. Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I felt like somebody was spamming us. I'm so bad at the internet. I'm so bad at like caring for things. But maybe it was a mistake. Should we undo that? All right, I'll try to keep an eye on it. Oh, okay. I'll keep an eye on it. Travis, was it a mistake? Can you tell us? Because the first one said, "Hi, I'm Sylvia." I'm worried that it was somebody. All right, we need to proceed. Yeah, let me see if I can designate you as a mod, Artie. Is that all right? Okay, I'm going to powder a little bit. I took a powder with me to North Carolina. I took the Glossier one, and I've just been powdering the tiny bit, the sides. And it's because of wearing a mask. I way more on this trip than I have for this entire pandemic was often in situations where I was like wearing a mask and then taking it off, wearing it and then taking it off. You know what I mean? And so I realized that even with just this tiny bit of spot coverage and stuff, I needed to set it pretty well so that I felt like it was protected from taking the mask on and off. And I came to really appreciate, even though I already did, how very skin-like this Glossier powder is. It's actually really, it doesn't add cake unless you really, really cake it on. But I think I always felt like it would sort of blur the areas that I put it on. And then it would disappear and I would feel like my skin sort of like warmed it up and made it more lived in over the course of the day. And I never could like see the powder on my skin really, but I did feel like it helped set my concealer and helped keep it from getting worn off by my mask. And I was doing it all very, it was very like just rushed and I wasn't trying too hard. I wasn't examining the results very much. I wasn't too obsessive about it. I was just kind of like, and then going. So it was kind of experimental. I thought a couple of times, well, we'll see how this goes. And then by the end of the day, maybe there will be like a big mask shaped, bare patch all over like the bottom half of my face will just have all the makeup removed. And then that never happened. This is what I've been doing the whole time, the whole trip. And I never found that the makeup was like worn off of my blemishes by the end of the day. Maybe a little bit like road worn, like a little bit set in, a little bit just not perfect, but I never felt like it had been removed to reveal like the redness underneath. So that was great. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to put on a little mascara. I took 2 mascaras with me. I took the Thrive Cosmetics one, which now it's time for me to say to you, I despise it. I cannot get beautiful lashes with it. But I didn't have an oil cleanser, and then I did get one on the trip. I got this one. I was just at the grocery store and I got this one from Mad Hippie. It's okay. It's fine. I'll talk about it in my empties or something. I'm sure that I'll use it up. But when I was packing for the trip, I was like, I'm gonna take this tubing mascara because I know that I'll be able to just remove it with water if I can't like get an oil cleanser. But then I also took my current fave, which is the Rimmel Lash Accelerator. I like it way, way, way 1,000 times better in terms of the effect. But I did end up using the Thrive one a number of times because whenever we were like going hiking or going to be eating outdoors and I knew it would be windy, I know that this one from Rimmel, its one flaw is that it runs. And so if it gets watery, right? If I tear up, and my eyes do tend to be a little bit teary. So if I ever thought I was going to be in a situation where my eyes would be teary, I wouldn't wear this one. I would wear the tubing one, but I never liked how my lashes looked when I wore it. So today I'm definitely going to be wearing the one from Rimmel. I don't really have like oh, Maria says the black mascara from Thrive is different and better. Nobody has ever given me this information before. I have the brown one. So thinking of that doesn't make me I'm not curious enough to want to try it because I had such a bad experience with the brown one, but it does explain something. It explains why everyone has been so gaga about that mascara, and I have had such a bad experience with the brown one in terms of the effect that it gives to my lashes. And so I've kind of been confused this whole time. I've been like, what is it that other people are seeing in the mascara? If the black one is different, that explains it. But I've realized lately that not lately, on this trip, I've realized that not only do I not like this mascara and the way it makes my lashes look, but I don't actually like tubing mascaras because even though they're really easy to remove, I don't like having those little bits all over my face and in the shower, especially if I'm using like a thick cleansing oil. They get stuck in the oil. And I just feel like they're going to end up everywhere. And a couple of times I've like removed a tubing mascara in the bathtub and then the little bits are like floating on the surface of the water and then they get like stuck to the sides of the tub. Gross. Like I'm not here for that. It's not only gross, whatever. Things don't usually gross me out, but it's inconvenient. It's not just gross, it's inconvenient. And the whole point is that it's supposed to be convenient. So maybe I'll be wrong, never say never. I kind of feel like I'm done with tubing mascaras forever right now. I don't get transfer on my under eyes, but hi Tin. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. So Tin has asked, do you get transfer on your under eyes? I don't, but I also rarely struggle with transfer in my under eyes ever. I'm not a good person to ask about whether mascara is transferred to the under eyes because I think it might be because my skin's so dry, or maybe it's the shape of my lashes or something, but I'm just not a person who struggles with that. I think that some mascaras transfer on people and they don't transfer on me, so don't take my word for it. A bold statement, says Isabel. Hi, Isabel. Okay. I mean, I'm glad you're here too. But hi. Hi. Okay. You want to hear something totally wild? Everybody guess. I took one blushy product home with me. By the way, I've just been doing this on this trip. Mascara, just a little bit of mascara on the upper lashes, and that's it. I took one cheek product with me. Guess what it was? Just one. You can either guess an actual product or you can guess like the nature of the product. Like what kind of blush is it? I want to know what you think. I'm going to wait for a second. Tin says e.l.f. lip and cheek. The lip and cheek. e.l.f. palette, e.l.f. compact. It wasn't the e.l.f. lip and cheek. It was something else. Salt New York blushes, good guess. It wasn't that. Serum blush by M Cosmetics. Salt New York. Sarah has guessed a powder, question mark, question mark, question mark. And that's the answer. Becca, Kevin Aquan, you're right. Although it wasn't the, what's the one that I always use, the highlighter, the Neo highlighter. I know Emily says this is actually shocking. I know. I took with me the Neo Bronzer from Kevyn Aucoin in Sunrise Light, which is one of my favorite blush products. I have been peeping it every time, like when I was filming all that overhead content, I was like peeping it and peeping it and peeping it. And I was like, I want to use it more. And when I was packing, I was considering, like doing like a blush, a cream. I was like, I had these cream blushes. I was like, should I bring this cream blush and then this powder, blah, 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 blah. And then I was just like, Hannah, be realistic. You're not really going to be wearing makeup that much. You're not going to be wearing blush half the time. And when you do, you're going to be wearing a mask on and off of it all the time. And so you're just not going to be bothering with a cream blush. And I also don't like applying cream blush with my fingers. I like using a brush, and traveling with a creamy brush is kind of difficult, especially if you just take a little bag. Like I just took all my makeup in this little bag. So I was like, I'm going to take my really easy to travel with, really easy to use powder, like this little brush that he really likes to use for powder, and this Kevyn Aucoin bronzer, which makes a beautiful and slightly luminous blush. And I used it like less than half the time, but I'm going to use it now. Marta is asking about Marta has peeped my ring. I am wearing an engagement ring, but I'm not going to talk about it today because I want to tell my Patreon patrons first. So I'm going to make like a whole video on Patreon, giving you all of the tea, and then I'll talk about it on big YouTube. But I didn't want to weirdly just take it off for the video today, so I knew someone would peep it. Isn't this pretty? It's like so natural. I'm gonna like pile it on. I haven't worn like good makeup in a long time, like blushy blush in a long time. If I piled it on like this, my family would be like, who are you? I mean, I guess they know who I am. They'd be like, you're Hannah Louise Poston, but they'd be like, there's no need. So, but this color is such that it just looks like sun, I feel. That, I mean, it's a very sunburny bronzer. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to take it all across my bridge of my nose. That's what all the kids are doing these days. I feel like applying cheek product is the part of the live where I just go silent and I like can't. Yeah. Yeah, see how it's shiny? That's coming from the blush. Although it reminds me to tell you that on this trip also, one of the things I did was to wear, there were some days where I wore the Chanel on top of other stuff. That was really cute. I was like just doing a little spot concealing, and then I would put this, like I put it on, spotted it on as a just like a highlighter and just left it. And I think that's how this is supposed to be used. And for the first time, I used it as that instead of as an all over face primer on this trip. And that was pretty good. Okay. Let's complete the look with me telling you about the lip products that I took with me on the trip and then not using any of them because there's another one I want to use today. I edited it down to 3 products I took with me. The Glossier Ultra Lip in Lucite, of course, right? And I wore it almost the whole time, except here's what happened to it. It got so squished. Do you see this? I was using it one day and it just squished off. It didn't really hold up that well. Maybe it was like the DC heat. But I used it a bunch, partly again because of this like on and off of the mask thing, you know, and it's, you know, pretty neutral, pale. I wore it almost all of the time. The other 2 products that I brought are these, the Glossier Vanillic Lip in Pony, which has sadly been discontinued. Talking about it in my Glossier Ultra Lip review made me want to get back to my Vanillic lips and like use them up because I love them so much. And so I took it with me, and I did wear it, I would say 3 times or something. I wore it a couple of times. It's a beautiful product. And then I brought this, which I had applied in a video right before leaving when I was pre-filming, the YSL Slim Glow Matte in 214. I loved how it looked in that video so much that I just like couldn't leave it behind. And I was like, what if I want to wear a red lip one of the days when I'm on my trip? Like, I'm going to wish that I had it. But of course, what happened was there wasn't a single day when I felt a red lip would be appropriate. And so I never wore it. There was maybe a dinner. I went out to dinner with my sister, with Ellie, and I might have worn it, but putting the mask on, taking it off to get into to travel, to get into the restaurant, I was just like not going to bother with it. And so I didn't wear it. But I thought it was a really good selection. If it had been a longer trip, I might have ended up wearing the red lip, and I was glad that I had it with me. Now that I'm back, though, I really want to wear these other colors of the Glossier Ultra Lip. I was kind of wishing I had brought a more exciting color of it with me. I mean, I'm very excited by Lucite. It's my favorite color of it, but a richer color. So I'm going to wear Villa, and I also think that it'll go well with everything that I've got going on. For people who weren't here at the beginning, I went to see my family in North Carolina. I got to visit with them, so it was good. This is Villa. And if you're interested in this product and you haven't seen my review, check my channel because it's up there. What do you think? Does it look like too much? Is it weirdly messy? You kind of have to fuss with them. The ones that are more pigmented, I feel like you kind of have to fuss with them. But I like the color. I feel like when I look at myself in the mirror, I go like, and then I think it looks bad. But if I'm talking and smiling, it looks nice and shiny and glossy. So I'm going to leave it. That's it. I did take this kohl eyeliner to put my mole back on, but I never put it on my trip. Although one day I did use this kohl eyeliner on my waterline. There was one day when I did a little bit more. I think it was the day when we had like the lunch for my grandmother. I did a little bit more with my eyes, but I didn't take any eyeshadow with me, and I didn't use any eyeshadow. Maybe that day I took the blush a little bit onto my eyes, but I didn't take any eyeshadow, didn't use any eyeshadow. Looking before me, and there's nothing else. There's nothing else that I took with me that's makeup on this trip that I haven't shown you. So there's just like the 3 lip products, the 2 mascaras, the kohl eyeliner that I just used for my mole, the brow product, the 3 concealers, the base product, the illuminator, and the 4 concealers, my spot concealer, and the Kevyn Aucoin blush. So this was it. This is everything I took. I'm going to put it into the little pouch right now so you can see how it was. I hope this is interesting. I'm always fascinated by people's choices about like what they take with them when they travel. So this was it. And then I had my Aaron's Faces concealer brush with me, the powder brush, which is the Wayne Gost 02, this little double-ended eyeshadow brush from an Urban Decay palette that I use for concealer, and this is the brush that I was using for the blush. And that was it. This was literally the exact little thing. And I felt like it served me well. It was perfect. It's like all I need. I could have gone weeks and it would have been all I needed. It was great. Mountain cottagecore natural fantasy. This is very fascinating. Thank you. That's it. this is it. It's time for me to go. Becca, I see you asking about the top dress. The top, I'll link it. It's a dress. It's a caftan. It's from an Etsy shop, and I'll definitely link it. But also, I am going to get around to telling you how I spent my budget, and so it'll all like everything will come up on my channel. I'm not just gonna like wear it and then never mention it again. Like you'll find out. But I'll try to put the link up. I'll try to put the link up like underneath this video within the next couple of hours. And I also see you all asking about color analysis. And I think that I might have looked into it at some point, but I don't know off the top of my head what my colors are. Although I've always assumed like what my season, what people say, I don't really know that whole thing. I've always assumed that I would be autumn, like autumnal, but I don't really know. I guess I just think that because of my hairs. I've got to go. This was so great. It's really nice to see you. I feel if you've been here from the beginning, then maybe you can tell that when I first started, I was feeling a little bit crusty, and now I feel great. And it's not just having put on the makeup. It's like, it's you. It's seeing your comments. It's knowing that you're here. It's reconnecting with this part of my life. It was so good to be with my family. And I felt like, especially after this very, very strange and challenging year for everyone, it was important for me to kind of really focus on them. You know what I mean? I put a lot of what Joe didn't come with me. So even Joe, like, of course we were texting, but like he was here in LA. Julia, Oliver, the baby were all here in LA. And this part of my life, it really faded for me spiritually, emotionally, in terms of focus. And those are really important relationships, but I really let them quiet down in me for a while. And then everything about YouTube, everything about it, the work that I do, my plans for the future, my connections with you all, I let all of that fade, almost like a black and white background to like my life. And I just showed up for my family, like in full color, like 100% for a whole week. So it's very strange to like come back and have to, and everything's starting to like light up, and the color is starting to bleed back into like the life that I live, all of these other dimensions of life that I live. And I really feel like that happened like over the course of this video as I was putting my makeup on. And I'm really grateful to those of you who are here right now and who are here for it. And of course, if you're watching on the replay, I'm very grateful to you too. I'm going to go. I love you all. Thank you for the notes. And thank you, Eco Friend. Yeah, you're all just the sweetest and best. And you know what I'm going to say? Don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.